Bechavod, with your permission. This is Parsha. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, go on this mountain, and soon you're going to die. You're going to die in the same way your brother died, and you wish to die in the same way. So Moshe, asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu a question, and he said, I would like an answer. Says the Gemara 4 times in the Torah, Moshe asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he would like to have an answer on this request. This is number 3. My question is, Moshe said, who is going to be the next leader after me? And the Gemara said, either Moshe had it in mind, or actually he said it to Hashem, but it's not in the text. I thought my children are the best candidates to take over. And the reason Chachamim explained, to lead Am Yisrael in a lot of experience. And children saw the father, how he handled the situation, how does he speak to people, what does he do, devotes himself to Am Yisrael. And their experience will be the best. Hashem to Moshe, I don't think so. I thought something else. I thought Yoshua. Of course, Yoshua, is being described as a very humble person, but the Gemara has some complaints about him. The major complaint the Gemara has is before Moshe Rabbeinu died, Moshe asked Yoshua, I'm going to die in a few minutes. Is there anything else that you want to know? So Yoshua said to him, whatever I heard from you, I know already. I don't need to know anything else. Says the Gemara, immediately when Moshe died, Am Yisrael came to Yoshua and asked him questions, halacha. 3,000 halachot, he didn't know how to answer. He forgot them. Since he answered Moshe, I don't need to know anything from you, I know everything. Hashem so-called made it this way. And the Gemara said it was so bad, Am Yisrael was so upset at him, they wanted to kill him. You don't want it to be our leader. And actually the Gemara says, another guy, this Kalevini Puneres, excuse me, he was able to answer the questions. Sounds for me that this guy, his name is Otniel Beknaz. Sorry, Otniel Beknaz. Son-in-law, Kalevini Puneres. He was much smarter than Yoshua. Nevertheless, Hashem said Yoshua is going to be the new leader. And I says, why Yoshua? Why? What do you know? The Gemara says, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu a sentence from Sefer Mishlei. The sentence reads like this: whoever watches a fig tree, he is going to have the fruits. What it means, says the Gemara, Hashem told Moshe, Yoshua was watching you all the time. It was your servant. And that's what Shlomo says. If you watch the fig tree, you're going to have fruits. It means you take care of it. Yoshua took care of you. He will be the new leader. Can you imagine? Somebody, for example, drives the president of the United States. For free even. The president, something's going to happen. It says the next president is his driver. With all the respect. You have to run a country. Remember, Am Yisrael, it's not... It's after Mamad al-Sinai, after we got the Torah. We need somebody to run the show. Okay, so what do you know about this guy? You know nothing. He just served Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, so good for him. But to lead Am Yisrael, comes the Gemara and says, I want to tell you another story. And the Navi was king, his name was Yehoshaphat, and they were planning a war. And we're looking to have a message from Hashem, to go or not to go. And Yoshaphat said, do we have over here anybody that is a prophet? They want to ask him. They want to ask him, should we go to the war? And somebody said, yeah, we have over here Elisha. Who is Elisha? Or somebody said, so they asked, who is this guy Elisha? I said, Elisha, he used to be a servant to Eliyahu Hanavi. And the time that Eliyahu Hanavi gathered Olam Israel to Carmel, to Haifa, and it was a famine, a drought, famine. And Eliyahu Hanavi built an altar over there. And he said that he's going to prove that Hashem is God. He's going to take a bull, he's going to slaughter him, and the fire will come from Shamayim in front of everybody. And before that, he said he is going to pour some water into a little ditch next to the altar, and the fire will come down, and the fire will even so-called eat or drink the water. Says the Gemara, Elisha was there, and Elisha poured water on the hands of Eliyahu Hanavi. Meaning, looking for a prophet, you have to say, listen, how do you know the guy's a prophet? Does he have any experience? He did anything. What did he do? It says he poured water on Eliyahu's hands. That's all. Did you do anything else about Eliyahu? For Eliyahu? But tell me, what does it mean? At least on Yeshua we know, the Torah says Yeshua always constantly was next to Moshe. Okay. This guy knows one thing. He poured water. Of course, Elisha was there the whole time. But as a description, what do you know about this guy? Poured water on Eliyahu's hands. Comes the Gemara and says, from this you see that you don't have to be a scholar. Serving a rabbi is better than to learn. Look, they didn't say that Elisha is a scholar. Somebody should say Elisha is a prophet, he's a scholar, he went to Yeshiva, he knows prophecy. No. What do you know about him? He poured water on Eliyahu's hand. See? One says, didn't say anything else. Must be that's the biggest thing. It's a very, very strange thing. What do you mean? He is a prophet. So how did he become a prophet, Elisha? Because he poured water over there. Did he do anything else for Eliyahu? Must have been. How come it doesn't say that? Why they chose that sentence to convince the king that Elisha is for real. He's not a faker. He's a real prophet. He's a real prophet. So how do you know? He poured water. If you were there, you ask, that's the purpose of prophet. Did he do anything in prophecy? Do you know if he studied prophecy? Do you know if Eliyahu told him something? You don't know anything. What do you know? Pour water? No. Not sufficient. That's the way we learn, in school. But you think deep about it, it's something strange over here. Yoshua on one side, and then Elisha on the other side. Both the same thing. Leaders. You don't know too many things about Yoshua. But how important this person was to Yoshua. The Gemara says, we have the Tanakh, we call a Bible. It has 24 books. 5 is Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Then you have 1 Yoshua. Then you have Shoftim, Melachim, Shmuel, Yirmiyahu, Yeshayahu, Yechezkel, 13, then Levim, Megillat Esther, the 5 Megillot, Tehillim, Mishlei, Yov. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, all the books really, what you have now, you have to study them. And you have to know them, the Gemara says. But you should know, those books were given to us and combined as a Bible because our misbehavior. If you would have behaved, we don't need it. Then what would you have in your cabinet? The Gemara says you would have Chamisha Chumshei Torah and Sefer Yoshua. Yeshua. Both Sefer Yoshua is so important if you remember, if you study the book. Nothing special. about the wars of Yehoshua that he conquered Eretz Israel. Nothing special. So if you would not, Gemara says that if you would not do Avodah Zarah or unbad things, you don't need all the books. No Shoftim, no Shmuel, no Melachim, no Yeshayahu, no Yirmiyahu, Yechezkel, nothing. You don't need. But you do need Yeshua. What's so great about Yeshua? Understand, you need a Torah, a Yeshua. What is it? It doesn't say anything in the book. But from this, you understand how big he was. We don't know yet what he was. But how big he was. The Gemara says he wrote the book of Yeshua. He wrote it. Besides maybe the last sentence, a few sentences. It says something very special. So continue the Torah, and the Torah says that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, Moshe. So as I tell you now, Hashem said, Yeshua is the next leader after you. Go talk to him, convince him, even though he might not want to be. It's a big obligation to Am Yisrael. Bring him in front of Elazar, Kohen HaGadol, and Am Yisrael. Put your hand on him, probably your right hand, and give him from your glory. Torah says, Torah tells us that Moshe had special glory on his face, and that he got it from HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a present. It means, see, if people looked at Moshe, they were afraid to look at him. Even Aaron. And constantly 40 years in the desert, Moshe had a mask on his face. Only when he spoke to Hashem, he took it off. After Hashem spoke to him, he put it back on. Am Yisrael could not tolerate, could not look at Moshe's face. By the way, the Gemara said it was the same thing with Elisha. Elisha's face also had so much glory, like fire came out from his face, they couldn't look at him. So Hashem tells Moshe, okay, Yeshua is the next leader. Okay, the next leader, okay, no. I want you to do something for him. Okay, fine. What would you like me to do, Hashem? Put your hand on his head. Put your hand on his head? For what? Why have to put my hand on his head? And then, by putting your hand on his head, you will give him certain glory that you have. How does it go? What does it mean? Because Moshe is going to put his hand on his head, then his glory is going to come. What does it mean exactly? In the text. Then the Torah says that Moshe did. He called up Yehoshua. He told him, put him in front of Elazar and the Skenim, the Bedin. He put his two hands on him. Torah emphasized. Hashem told Moshe put one. Moshe put two. To tell you, the Gemara says how generous Moshe is. What does it mean, generosity here? I don't know exactly, we don't know exactly what it means yet. Put hand on somebody's head. But give the glory. So the glory is like fire. After you have fire, you can have more fire. The glory is here. Okay, you got the glory? Yeah. Let me put another hand on you. So what do you think? Like you have a candle. You put the light on the candle from a match. Okay, let me light another match. But the light is on. But you're wasting matches. And the Torah praises it. Moshe, so generous and kind. Hashem told him one hand, he put two hands. Yeah. Then the paragraph ends. Moshe did the way Hashem told him, Beyad Moshe. With the hand of Moshe. What does it mean? What does it mean? Again, the Zohar says you have to remember the Torah is not a storyteller, and the Torah doesn't tell you stories will happen. It's a message. We find in the Torah a lot of times things have to do with hands. By the way, it's a very powerful thing, hands, very powerful. There's a special Mishnah, it's called Yadayim, and Halachot in the Rambam, washing hands. The Gemara says that Shlomo HaMelech revealed the secret of washing hands. The Torah says a Kohen comes to Beit HaMikdash, he has to wash his hands and his feet. But just to wash our hands for food and other times, washing your hands, that is a top secret. When Shlomo revealed it to the nation, The Gemara says, Hashem from Shemayim said, Shlomo, salute to you. All the respect for you. Reveal the secret, how important washing hands. So one of the episodes in the Torah is, the Torah tells us, before we got the Ten Commandments, Am Yisrael came to Refidim. Refidim, a place, and there's no water. Couldn't find water. Spoke to Moshe, called Moshe. Immediately after Moshe gave them water, Vayavo Amalek. Purim. Amalek arrived. Amalek arrived, the first nation to attack Am Yisrael after splitting Yam Suf. Says the Torah, it was very hard to overcome Amalek. And Moshe and Aaron and Hur went on top of a mountain to see from there how Sinai. And Moshe raised his hands, praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Raising his hands such a long time that he had to sit down. It's only a message. Rabbi tell us the Torah hands. It's called Shmoneh Esrei, we stand up. Really, we should never sit in Bet Knesset. Because the Gemara says Bet HaMikdash is going to come. No one is allowed to sit in Bet HaMikdash. Only the king. Maybe the Kohen Gadol, maybe it's a question. No one is allowed to sit. He comes to Bet HaMikdash and says, where's my seat? I'm too tired. Too bad, you can't sit over here. Go back, go outside. Go outside of the mountain. Moshe stood up, raising his hands. So what does it mean exactly? It is, our custom is say, people pray, they open the hands, raise their hands. So what is it behind it? You know, Kohanim, they give bracha. The bracha comes from the hands of the Kohanim. The Torah tells a story. Moshe raised his hands, and he got very tired, so he asked to bring him a stone, a rock. He must sit on a rock, not on a chair. Gemara says you have to participate and feel for Am Yisrael. Since there's a war now, Moshe doesn't want to sit on a cushion. He doesn't want to sit on a sofa. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, forget about, the Torah says, forget that Moshe is so tired. Excuse me, he had to raise his hands. So Aaron in one hand held Moshe's hands, raising them, and Hur on the other side. Says the Gemara, the way the Torah says, that when Moshe raised his hands, Am Yisrael was winning. He put his hands down, Am Yisrael is losing the war. Therefore, Aaron and Hur kept Moshe's hands up in order to win the war, and they really didn't win the war completely, semi. So it says, the Mishnah says, the Gemara, what is it all about? The Gemara says, when Moshe raised his hands, and Am Yisrael looked at Moshe's hands, they looked at Hashem, and they made the heart to be a slave to Hashem, and then they win. Excuse me. To look at Hashem, you don't have to look at Moshe's hands. You don't have to Moshe could have told them, listen, everybody please look upstairs. What do you mean look upstairs? Because you looked at the ones, no. They looked at Moshe's hands. And because they looked at Moshe's hands, they're winning. They're winning the war, you're winning. The minute Moshe put his hands down, you're losing. What does this mean? So keep looking at the Shamayim. Look at the sky. What do you mean? You don't see Moshe's hands? What does it mean exactly? Stop in the Torah. From this, comes out the custom to raise hands. The Ramban says it's very dangerous thing. You can't raise your hand too long, not more than 3 hours. That's what took more than 3 hours, and Moshe could not even held his hands for such a long time. So what's really the secret behind it? Chachamim tell us this. Hashem gave us hands, of course. No, it makes sense. We need hands. How can you operate? How can you live without hands? But that's not what Hashem said. But Hashem said it. The Gemara says a few things Hashem created before this world. One of them is the Torah. And Hashem appears as a blue cloud in the shape that he decided this world is going to run. And the reason why Hashem made us two hands is because so-called Hashem has two hands. Not to talk like this, but the Gemara says just for us to understand. It says, why does Hashem have two hands? Why he has two hands? I understand, maybe I need two hands, maybe I can up one, maybe. Why Hashem has two hands? And I said, Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim, and Hashem is going to give him tablets. The tablets were made from so-called two sides. They're called luchot, tablets. Why not tablet? Why two? Two tablets? Yeah. Two tablets, exactly the same, to tell you that this is so-called the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It says HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm going to give you tablets, I'm going to write on the tablets. The tablets are so-called the hands of Hashem. Hands of Hashem means, of course, in Kabbalah, it's called one hand, it's called kindness, and one hand it's called control, Gevurah. It means Hashem runs the world so-called with his hands. Hashem created this world, so the Gemara says, the Navi says, with his hands. Because Hashem said something, but the way Hashem is so-called actually create worlds with his hands. Navi says it. Tehillim says it. So that's the secret you should know of our hands. Our hands is not hands. There's energy inside our hands that a person has. And that energy that he has, that's his life. How important the hands are. Ari says, a person prays to Hashem, that tefillah goes from the mouth of the person into his palms. And from his palms, it goes to Yerushalayim, and Yerushalayim, Eliyahu takes it and give it to the interior minister, Matat, upstairs, it delivers to Hashem. It doesn't go from our mouth straight. It goes to our hands. Why does it go to our hands? Why doesn't it go from our mouth? The Gemara says that Chachamim, they used to pray at the place they used to learn. He says, what is significant? So Chachamim, before we start Shmoneh Esrei, they put a sentence from Tehillim, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tilatecha. God Almighty, open my lips, and I will praise you. Or do you say, Hashem, open my lips? A Targum over there, translation, the Aramaic translation on that sentence in Tehillim, says, Hashem Sfatai Tiftach b'divrei Torah. Hashem is going to listen to a prayer of a person upon his learning. If you don't learn, your tefillah might not reach upstairs. The vehicle to deliver the prayer is the Torah. God Almighty, you have to have this kavanah before such message say, Hashem said, Tiftach, Hashem, open my mouth. Open my mouth. Your mouth is always open. No. Open my mouth, divrei Torah. I want to study. I give a statement to Hashem. I love studying. I'm thirsty for studying. And then I want to talk to you. Then Hashem listens to you. That's the secret. A person can say Tehillim all his life, unless Tehillim is considered as Torah. But just to stand and pray, Hashem might not hear it. The delivery, the mailman that delivers it is the Torah. And the Torah are the tablets. The Torah are the hands of a person. That's the secret of our hands. And if Chas v'Shalom, somebody uses his hands for the wrong thing, loses the energy that Hashem so-called injected in his hands. So the whole bracha, Hashem gives the bracha from his hands to your hands, and says if your hands are so-called eligible or qualified or have the right to accept the bracha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the whole thing is the Torah. And then the Gemara says, Moshe's hands were like tablets. That's the secret. If Moshe took the tablets from HaKadosh Baruch Hu when he was in Shamayim, and it says, Moshe took it, he says, no, Moshe didn't take it. Moshe's hands are the tablets. His connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu via his hands. That's a shame. He's so upset at Moshe Rabbeinu that he hit the rock, for example. And he says, you're not supposed to use your hands for the wrong thing. Only for mitzvot. Gemara says, the Chacham that wrote the Mishnah, Rabbi Aderet, it's called him Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Gemara says, he never put his hands under his belt. Never put his hands in his pockets. Because your hands are Torah. The hands were given to a person to do mitzvah. You have to go to work. Why you go to work? Because I want to be able to support myself. Perfect. But for example, the Chachamim tell us the first sin that was here on this earth was that Chava used their hands to touch something he's not supposed to touch. Destroy the hands. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Noah, but I would like you to build an ark. Don't hire no Spanish people. 120 years, Noah was a carpenter. He went to his son. Shem had a factory of nails. Went, got the wood himself. Went to Turkey, chopped wood, carried the wood. Can you imagine how much wood he had to carry by himself? Aseh lecha tevat ati gofer. You have to do it. Why have to do it? Why have to do it? I call the company. Because Gemara says, Noach lavat Torah, Noach studied Torah, your hands on the tablets, not tablets yet, we didn't get it yet. But the hands of a person has so much ability and energy inside from the Torah, because then your hands, so-called, are connected to the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let Hashem told Noach, you go and you, I want you to get the food for all the creatures. Can you imagine how much food Noach had to get? And it says, let Amazon deliver it. No. Nobody should touch the food. The hands are so pure and holy, they get everything for the person as long as he washes them. And that's the Gemara says, Shlomo Melech invented washing hands. That's the secret of it. And Gemara says a statement, forever, always your hands should be pure and clean. Always. It's not OCD, washing hands. It's the opposite. There was a tragedy in Eretz Israel a few years ago. I asked Chaim Kanievsky, what is it all about? What happened? And Chaim said, people don't wash hands. Don't wash hands. He said, people have to wash hands with the kavanah. When you come out of the bathroom, before you eat, Mayim Achronim. And Chaim Kanievsky, Mayim Achronim used to take a cup and wash his hands. Not, just stick his hands under the sink. A lot of water, not just, a little bit. Because that gives energy to the hands. And it's contained in the Torah. If you watch the Torah, and next to the Parish also, it says, Biyad Moshe, Yad Moshe, Biyado, Biyad Moshe. What does it mean? It says the power of a person is his hand. Because the hand is the connection to the Torah, to the tablets, to the hands of Hashem. Hashem supplies everything. And that's what the Gemara says. This guy Yoshua, he was the only one that saw the tablets besides Moshe. So the Gemara, tell you what happened. After Hashem said the 10 Commandments, Moshe said, I'm going up to Shamayim, and I'm going to be there for 40 days to get tablets to study Torah. I'll come back. Says the Gemara, Yoshua told him, I'm coming along with you. Moshe said, you can't come with me. I'm going to Shamayim. It's only a helicopter with one seat. Yoshua said, you know what? Until where I can go with you. Moshe said, the tip of Har Sinai can go. And so Yoshua said, you know what? I'm going over there. I'm going to wait over there. Moshe said, you're going to wait over there? I'm going for 40 days. What are you going to eat? There's no man over here. What are you going to do? You make yourself a little tent, stay over there? Yoshua said, here, 40 days I'm going to stay over there. Come to Gemara, because if he's devoting to Hashem, to Moshe, Hashem poured man next to him outside the camp. Okay. After 40 days, Moshe comes back with the tablets. And Moshe asks Yeshua, I hear some kind of noise in the camp. And Yeshua said, maybe it's a war. I don't know. I wasn't there. I was waiting for you over there. So Moshe said, no, there's something is wrong. So Moshe already said, we can't calm down. So again, Yeshua saw the tablets in Moshe's hands. No one else saw it, because Moshe gets closer to the camp and he saw the mixed dancing, he broke the tablets. Okay. Continues the Gemara. After Moshe broke the tablets, he told them, Israel, I'm going back to Shamayim to ask for HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgiveness. For 40 days, Moshe went up. Again, Yeshua waiting over there for 40 days. Then Moshe comes back, Erev Chodesh Elul, he comes back, he told them, Israel, okay, listen. Hashem said, he forgives you, I'm going to get new tablets, and I'm going to Shamayim again for 40 days. Hashem is going to rewrite on the new tablets whatever was written in the first tablets, and I'll bring it back a tablets on Yom Kippur. That's what happened. I said, where was Yeshua? 120 days, he's waiting for Moshe Rabbeinu down there. He's not waiting for Moshe Rabbeinu. He's waiting for the tablets. He's waiting for the Torah. A person, the Chachamim said, you have to have a thirst. When I'm going to know the whole Gemara, the whole Shas, Bavli, Yerushalmi, Mishnah Yod, Yalkut Yosef, Mishnah Berurah, when I'm going to have all the books that I see on the store. When are you going to have that? I know somebody went to Abraham Knevsky, and Abraham said, there's a school. So Abraham said, okay, Hashem Yazor, somebody will give you a few $1 million to build the school. So he said to Abraham, V'chen lema, also you. Abraham said, I don't need it. I just want books. My thirst is books. I don't need money. I don't want money. Yeshua had a thirst for Torah. And that's really what the Gemara says. Gemara says, Moshe Rabbeinu told Hashem, I think my children should take over after me. Hashem said, nah. Yeshua, and says, you know why? Hashem quotes a sentence in Mishlei. Notzer te'ena, somebody watches a fig tree, he's going to have the fruit. The Gemara says, you know what does it mean? Why it says te'ena? Why it says a fig tree? Because fig tree resembled Torah. Gemara Masechet Eruvin says, you have fig tree, no, Gemara says fig tree, Hashem made it, because fig tree has a special connection to Torah. And since Hashem told Moshe, this guy Yeshua, not because he's a shamash, nah. Because he has a thirst for Torah, he is going to lead Am Yisrael via Torah. And it's actually, when Moshe Rabbeinu died, Hashem called Yeshua, spoke to Yeshua, I told him, listen, Yeshua, I want to tell you something. So Yeshua, tell me. We read in the Navi. Don't let go for a second from the Torah. You have to have a Torah. Hashem never told it to Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem never told it to anybody else. It comes the Rambam in the Halacha, and I say, you should know. It's the Gemara says, you got to study all the time. So, who said it? Hashem. To who? To Yeshua. Why Yeshua? I say Yeshua's book is like Torah. Because Yeshua had so much thirst for Torah, Gemara says, when Mashiach will come, it's going to be the same thing. All the books of the Nevi'im will be cancelled. Maybe Megillat Esther will stay. And Sefer Yeshua as well, maybe. Anyway, the Gemara says, you should know that Sefer Yeshua was the most important book. He said, you have to read in between lines the secret of this book. But this book is, if we may say, is a little comparison to the Torah because of the thirst of Yeshua. And therefore Hashem tells Yeshua, listen, don't let go of the Torah. I said, why are you telling me this? Because your whole idea of you as a king after Moshe is because Torah. Not because you were shamash for Moshe Rabbeinu. Because you were looking for the Torah. And therefore the Navi says, Yeshua was about to attack Jericho. An angel came to Yeshua. In the text, with a sword, and Yeshua says, what do you want? He says, I'm here to kill you. She said, what did I do? He says, you don't study. I said, this is the war zone. It's supposed to attack the Jericho. I should sit down and learn? And she said, yeah. A war? Yeah, when is the war? Tomorrow morning, huh? What are you doing tonight? Falafel you're having. Sit down and learn right now, I'm killing you. And the Navi says, the Gemara says, Miyad lan Yoshua ba'omka shel halacha. That's just reading now Gemara. Reading Zohar. Ba'omka. Deep, learn deep. The Zohar says to learn deep is the most important thing. It breaks all the shells, breaks all the gezerot deep. I said, what's the story, Navi? And it tells you what is really how you continue the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu. And Am Yisrael is only tablets, only Torah, only your hands. What do you think, you can win the war against Jericho because what? Because you have ammunition? Nah. You walk around the wall of Jericho, the wall sank in the ground. So with Chutma, what's the privilege? Torah, that's it, nothing else. It's not only that, the Gemara says the next war was the war with the city, it's called Ai. And Am Yisrael lost the war, so called. And it was a big slap for Yeshua. And Rabbi says Yeshua fell on the floor, cried to Hashem, what happened? Hashem said, get up from the floor. Why didn't you go in the front with the soldiers? Why you were in the back? I said, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Gemara says Hashem told Moshe asked Hashem that the next leader should be, after me, he should go in the front. I said, what difference does it mean in the front and the back? Why? Because he sacrifices himself now. Because in the front was the ark with the broken tablets. So you win the war with tablets. In 1967, Am Yisrael Baruch Hashem took the Kotel. So you know how they took the Kotel? Because the Rav Goren, the chief rabbi at the time, was not the chief rabbi. He was the chief rabbi of the army. He was in the first jeep to get the Kotel, to go to the Kotel in 1967, and he had in his hand a Torah. So we knew, of course, with all the respect to all our soldiers, but you didn't win the war, you didn't get back the Kotel because Am Yisrael, because the Torah wins. Of course, in the soldiers, in the army. But at the end of the day, you have to know. And that's really what the Torah says. Look, Am Yisrael came to a place of Refidim, was no water. Because water is, Torah is compared to water. Okay, Moshe gave them water. Okay, still. The Gemara says, Rafu yedehem mehaTorah. Refidim, what's that name? The hands of Am Yisrael did not learn. You don't learn with your hands. Yes, you do. The tablets are your hands. Keep your hands holy, and then you learn Torah. From your mouth, it gives energy to your hands. Okay, Amalek is here. Why Amalek is here? You don't study with your hands. Okay. This is why I will tell you something. What happened? Moshe Rabbeinu went on the mountain with Aaron and Hur. He raises his hands. Why did Torah tell you Moshe raises his hands? Why does he raise his hands? He doesn't sit, he stands. Okay. Says the Torah, when Moshe raises his hands, Am Yisrael wins the war. When he puts his hands down, what does it mean? Torah says, well, when he raises his hands, all Am Yisrael watch Moshe's hands. So what is Moshe's hands? Why? Because Moshe's hands resemble Torah. He didn't win Amalek because Moshe raised his hand. Because you looked at Moshe's hands, Torah, and you understood that Amalek came because lack of Torah. Here, Moshe is the head of Am Yisrael, compared to all of Israel. He's showing you the important thing in life is Torah. Raise his hands. Okay, come to Gemara, continues. Okay, now you understand. Okay, Yeshua, you know who it is. Fine. Says the Gemara, you know the glory that Moshe Rabbeinu has is from the tablets. From the tablets, from the ink that the Kadosh Baruch Hu so-called used to write the tablets. Comes Hashem to Moshe and Moshe, I'm not explaining to her. Take this guy and put your hand. That's not my hand. It's the Torah. Put the Torah on Yeshua's head, and Yeshua will get glory. What do you mean glory? Yeshua is the only one that saw the first tablets. And Yeshua showed how much he loves Torah and how much he's thirsty for the tablets, wait at the top of the mountain over there 120 days. Moshe, that guy deserves to have glory like you have glory. You have glory, you know, I have glory, Moshe, because you love Torah. It's you love Torah. I said, that guy loves Torah as well. I tell you what, your hand is a piece of Torah, tablet. Put your hand on his hand, automatically, glory from the tablet that you have on you will be transferred on his hand. That's the secret. Comes the Torah and says, Moshe Rabbeinu put his two hands. Because really the two kinds of glories, one is called glory, one is called beauty. It's called Hod v'Hadar. It's two things. It's called Netzach v'Hod, Netzach v'Hod. Netzach is Hadar. It's in Kabbalah. It's a major thing in Kabbalah. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, you just give him glory. Hod. Moshe gave him Netzach, because Moshe is Netzach. Aaron is Hod. It's a whole thing in Kabbalah. As I said, look, he didn't put more glory. He can't put more glory. Either he has glory, he doesn't have glory. After you have glory, you can't have more glory. But you can have so-called beauty. It's called Hadar. And this is the Gemara says, after Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, look, Yeshua is going to be the leader, even though Moshe had in his head that he wants his children, Hashem will explain to him. A leader of Am Yisrael is only Torah. Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky was a leader of Am Yisrael. Rav Steinman was a leader of Am Yisrael. Chazon Ish, Rav Shach, Rav Ovadia, they are the leaders. It's not the government. The government is just in the front, like a soldier goes. But the soldier wins because of Tablet, because of Torah. The Torah wins. And here comes the Torah and tells you, look, Moshe is so humble and understood what Hashem told him, even though Moshe had it in his mind that my children said, no. I understand like this. A leader is not a servant. Is somebody who has thirst for Torah. Come to Gemara and say, I want to explain to me about Elisha. Look, Elisha is a prophet. So what do you know about him? I tell you what I know about him. It was the time of a famine, a drought, and Eliyahu Navi built an altar in Haifa, in Carmel, and he said, bring some water. So Elisha brought some water, and he poured it on the hands of Eliyahu. Again, the hands are Torah. Says the Gemara, you know what happened? Elisha poured a little water on the hands of Eliyahu. All of a sudden, the Gemara says that language, the hands of Eliyahu became like springs. So much water came from his hands. Why? Because the Torah is compared to water. And Eliyahu Navi, the concept of Eliyahu Navi is Torah, Pinchas. And it says, what does Elisha do? Elisha loved so much Torah. He was described in the Navi that he is the servant of Eliyahu. Servant of Eliyahu because he drives him around? No. Because he washes his hands? No. He washes his hands in a certain time, in a certain way, and that washing resembled that Eliyahu Navi's hands were Torah, and Elisha had the privilege, so-called, to pour water on the so-called on the Torah and produced by Eliyahu Navi's hand more water, more Torah, more Torah. That's the Gemara says. Thirst for Torah and learning Torah is more important than learning Torah. You know, okay, I learn one day. You have to have a drive inside you that you want to learn all the time. You have no time. You have no time. I don't know if I told you. They told me somebody saying he should Knesset Rabbi Knesset used to daven Leder mit kol Lederman, and Rabbi Kanievsky had a grandson. So the Mechutin was saying over there shiur, and after the shiur he goes up to Rabbi Kanievsky, he wants to say Mazal Tov to him. So Rabbi already said Mazal Tov before, he walks over there to the room, and the Prime says, yes. He said, I'm here to say Mazal Tov. He said, Mazal Tov for what? He says, your grandson got engaged or something. I said, what, really? He goes outside to the Rabbanit, he tells Rabbanit, what's wrong over here? Why? I came to say Mazal Tov, he said, let me tell you something. Reb Chaim Kanievsky always prayed he doesn't want to remember anything but Torah. He doesn't even remember that the grandson got engaged. Before some people came and said Mazal Tov to him, he said, raise from his hand. The thirst for the Torah has to be so great that you don't want to remember anything in your head, just Torah. This is Moshe, this is Yoshua, this is Eliyahu, this is Elisha. And that's the message that Torah wants us to know. And the Gemara says, Mashiach, the Zohar says, Mashiach will come because of a Torah. See, you mean learn shas. Every moment that you have available, you have to have a thirst. Like a person has a thirst, he wants to make more money. And it says, thirst for Torah will bring Mashiach. Amen.